There are no secrets to success, just things you haven't learned yet. And once you learn them, it's up to you to apply them. I'm Jamaal, aka Boss Eagle, Billboard-charting hip-hop artist and music business coach. Join me as we talk digital marketing, social media, technology, and more, and share interviews with industry professionals to help you unlock the secrets and take control of your music career. Because we are the new music business, and this is the Indie Musician Secrets Podcast. What's up, and welcome to the Indie Musician Secrets Podcast. I am your host, Jamaal, aka Boss Eagle, Billboard-charting hip-hop artist and music business coach here at Business Minded Musicians, and I want to welcome you to today's episode of the Indie Musician Secrets Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. The topic for today is called What It's Like Being a Grammy Voter. But before we dive into that, I do just want to remind you that you can listen to the podcast on all of your favorite streaming platforms. You can also download it if that's helpful for you. And please don't forget to rate and review the show. That would help in terms of pushing the podcast forward. So without further ado, we're going to be talking about what it's like being a Grammy voter. So today is Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, and Grammy season is upon us. And if you know anything about the Grammys, you're probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about. The Grammys are not in October, they're in February. Officially, the Grammy season starts once the nominations are announced and the show is about to happen. But actually, for those of us who are members of the Recording Academy, round one of voting for the Grammys starts today for this next Grammy Awards show. And it's such an honor to be a member and to have a voice. So with that said, today I'm going to actually be talking about what it's like to be a voting member of the Recording Academy and what it's like voting for this iconic industry award. And I'm going to share a little bit about my first experience with the Grammys this year. So let's dive in. What is the Recording Academy? You're probably familiar with the Grammys, but you may not know as much about the Recording Academy, the organization behind the Grammys. This is their mission statement. The mission of the Recording Academy is to recognize excellence in the recording arts and sciences, cultivate the well-being of the music community, and ensure that music remains an indelible part of our culture. They also mentioned that as a leading community of music professionals, the Recording Academy's purpose, they kind of list out 4 different purposes. One is to advocate, so they fight for the rights of all music creators and ensure pro-music policy at the national, state, and local levels. To celebrate, so it says we bestow the Grammy Award, the single most coveted accolade in music, and we recognize the contributions of all creators throughout the year. Third is to educate. We inspire the next generation of music creators and professionals by providing opportunity, enrichment, and mentorship. And lastly, to serve. We purposely participate in service to respect our shared love of music and prioritize community above self. We are a community that cares. That's a little bit about the Recording Academy, that celebrate purpose. That is where they talk about the actual Grammy Awards. In case you didn't know this, the Grammys are the only peer-voted award of all the majors. So Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony, the major awards. And that's really cool because we're actually voting for our peers. Most folks probably only see the televised show. That's what most folks are familiar with when it comes to the Grammys, but there are actually over 90 Grammys awarded each year. As of now, at least, I think it's about up to 92 or 93, but only a handful actually get aired on the live show. So what you're seeing on the live show, it's really just some of the popular categories. But there's actually a lot of Grammys that get handed out in a lot of different categories, which is awesome because it's showing that they're celebrating the contributions of people in spaces that you may not think about. So there's some other things that the Recording Academy does as well. They have a program called Grammy U, which historically was for college and university students who wanted to have a career in the music industry. You'd be paired with a mentor from the Recording Academy, and you would, do things to help you advance your career as you're preparing for a career in the music industry. What's really crazy is this year, I think they opened it up to, I think now it expands outside of people who are actively in college or at a university, and I think they even bumped up the age to 28. I mentioned this earlier, they also have the Grammy Museum, which I got a chance to go to this year. The Recording Academy also is responsible for the Latin Grammys. They also do other things like advocacy days, and then obviously, being a professional organization, there's professional development opportunities, mixers, events, and more. So how does someone join the Recording Academy? There are two different membership types. There's professional membership and voting membership. Professional membership would be more for like a journalist or a manager, an agent, a PR person, someone who works closely within the music space but is not a contributor to the landscape of music directly. And then there are voting members like myself, folks who are contributing to music. It's what we do. It's basically our primary thing, our primary contribution. It is an extensive application process to become a voting member. They'll check your credits, and you have to have 2 letters of recommendation from folks who are also in the music industry as well, the music space. The membership cycle is only one time per year. Your applications are usually due in March, and then they extend the invitations in June. And then you renew that annually as well. And as voting members, we all vote on the major categories, the ones that are kind of those big ones, and then we vote within our areas of expertise. So for me, because my primary contribution is hip hop, I get to vote in the hip hop categories. The cycle itself is kind of interesting in terms of how it works. And this is why some people are like, wait, what? How did the person win Best New Artist and they're not even new anymore? So the way that the eligibility period works is it goes from Q4 of 2 years prior to the year of that show to the preceding year Q3 of the show. And I know that sounds like super confusing, so let me give you an example. The 66th annual Grammy Awards that's coming up in February of 2024, that eligibility period started October 1st, 2022, and it runs through September 15th of this year, of 2023. So if you want to be eligible to be for a nomination for the Grammy Awards in 2024, those projects would have had to been released between October 1st, 2022 and September 15th of this year, 2023. Now, the entry process in terms of the window that you have to submit those things, it's super interesting. It went from July 17th of this year to August 31st. Of this year. And you may be thinking, but wait, I thought the eligibility period went till September 15th. That's 2 more weeks, like that you're cheating people out. You technically don't have to have the project completed just yet. You can still submit it even if it's not done. So if you know that song that you want to submit for the Grammys isn't going to be released till say like September 8th, you still have to submit it by August 31st, but it can still come out on September 8th as long as it's released by September 15th. And then the first round of voting, again, like I mentioned, starts today. It goes through October 20th. The nominations will be announced on November 10th. So we don't get a ton of time to vote in that first round, about a week and a half, and then they'll tabulate all those up. And then the nominations will come out, and then we go to a second round or a final round. And that final round goes from December 4th of this year to January 4th of next year. So we get a month to vote on the nominees. From that group are going to be the ones that come out, and you have your top 5 or 6 that'll actually, you'll see, on the show. That'll be like, these are the top 5 or 6 that are going to be nominated for this award. And then a month after that, on February 4th, 2024, is the 66th annual Grammy Award show. So that's a little bit about how all of that works. In case some of you out there are like, what does that process look like? There's a little bit of an overview. And I just want to talk a little bit about my experience this year going to the Grammys for the first time. I've wanted to do this for a while, just haven't gotten around to being able to do it. But I did join the Recording Academy last year in 2022, and I went to my first Grammys this year. So that first day, you get in, it's Friday, everyone's flying in, everyone's checking into the hotels. You see people from all over, everywhere. It's really cool. The city's buzzing. I don't spend a ton of time in LA, but it is pretty cool to be out there during that time. This year I actually had a show that night on Friday. I booked a show before I left, so it was cool. I got to play a show out in LA. And then Saturday was actually, pretty fairly laid back for me as well too. I did go to the Grammy Museum. They had an event there. I'm walking through the Grammy Museum just looking at all these displays of all these amazing artists and, past, present. They also have a really cool immersive experience inside the Grammy Museum as well, which I thought was super awesome. They have a display where you can choose different performances and you're watching it happen on the screen, like the Imagine Dragons and Kendrick Lamar. But the sound changes, so it goes all the way back to like old recording devices all the way up to today. What it would have sounded like on cassette, what it would have sounded like on Dolby or MP3 or whatever it is. And so as you're watching the performance, the audio is changing and it's going through time from past to current. He's like, man, I can't believe that this is how people used to listen to things. Like, we can't even imagine it now, right? So there's a lot of really cool things there. So Saturday was pretty cool as well, but really game day is Sunday. That's Grammy Day. It is a super, super long day. The festivities all really start with the premiere ceremony. And going back to Friday night, I was in the restaurant in the hotel, and a couple had come and sat near me. And so I was kind of asking them, I was like, this is my first time. How do I do this? What should I expect? And one of the things that I remember her saying is, the premiere ceremony. The premiere ceremony is so awesome because it's like you're just with your peers. And obviously, never having experienced it before, I didn't really know what to really make of that. But having gone through it now, I can tell you that probably from my first time going, the premiere ceremony was probably my favorite part of the whole weekend. And for the average person who watches the Grammys on TV, you're like, what? Like, you were at the actual event. Yes, but let me tell you why. The premiere ceremony happens before the live televised event. And it's not broadcast on TV, but it is streamed online. It's in a smaller venue. It's in the Microsoft Theater. And you literally are there with your peers. Just off to the right a little bit was Brandi Carlile. I think just off to the left was Carly Pearce a little bit. Bonnie Raitt walked right by me when she won one of her awards. I was literally, probably 20 feet away from Babyface and Malcolm Jamal Warner and Viola Davis. And I'm watching all these people, up there on stage and everything. And it's really much more laid back. Like, it's a really cool event. It's about 3.5 hours. It's super long. This is where most of the 90 plus Grammys are actually given out. One of the things that I noticed throughout the whole time is that there's limited opportunities to eat. They did have some snacks and some concessions there. So if you do end up making your way to the Grammys at some point, just keep that in mind. You may want to stuff some snacks in your pocket and stuff, but definitely eat after the premiere ceremony, because there's a limited amount of time between the premiere ceremony and when the live ceremony starts. And so everyone, because it's all kind of in this one area, everyone just kind of mobs over to whatever restaurants are available. So you got people in like fancy suits and dresses and stuff that are like pounding a Five Guys burger. And then after the premiere ceremony, you actually have to go back through the Microsoft Theater to get to Crypto.com Arena, which is the big arena. That's where the Lakers play and all that. And that's where the live show is. And it was crazy. I will admit that. Like, it was so cool to see it from the non-TV perspective, where you're hearing the cues, right? You're hearing the stage manager, whoever that's coming on, like literally the overhead speakers, and telling people, okay, 5 minutes, coming back from commercial, that kind of thing. You can see handlers kind of ushering people on and off stages and in and out of different places and stuff. It was really a fascinating experience. It was much different than the premiere experience, because for the premiere ceremony, it was just us, whereas this is a much bigger deal. There's lots of other people there. The live show is when it actually kind of shows that separation between, like, okay, the celebrities are here and everyone else is not, versus the premiere ceremony where everyone's just kind of together, which is, I think, why I really like the premiere ceremony. But the one thing is that it is actually live. Beyonce actually was stuck in traffic this year. She showed up late because she was stuck in traffic. That wasn't, at least to my knowledge, that wasn't scripted. There's probably a delay when it comes on TV, I would imagine, because they have to account for weird things that could happen. But another thing about the live ceremony is they did not have their concessions fully open. That would be one suggestion that I would make, is that we should have the concessions open. I mean, people were trying to get whatever they could. The one guy that I found a concession stand, he's like, this is my last bag of chips. But overall, it was fun, especially I think for me, with this year being the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, to sit there live and watch that 13-minute performance of all of these hip-hop artists from all of these generations, kicking it off with LL Cool J, one of the greatest of all time, one of my favorite rappers of all time. And to be there during that one was really cool. And so overall, it was a good time. And then after that, everyone goes to the other venue that's right in that same complex, the LA Convention Center, for the after party. And the after party is kind of a little bit where, people are kind of a little bit more relaxed. You probably see a little bit more letting of the hair down and things like that, but people are still pretty dressed up. But there's tons of food tables, drink stations. I mean, it's in a big open convention area, so they have a bunch of stages with different performers, dancers and aerialists and stuff like that. It's super cool. It's a great opportunity to mingle as well and talk with other people, and because there's so many different people who are there as well. And then they did also have a main stage, which there was a live concert. Flo Rida putting on a show that night, and he brought Flavor Flav with him, and Flavor Flav is just always a party. The party goes wherever Flavor Flav goes. So I didn't stay the whole time, but overall, like I said, it was a great experience. I think for me, as someone who grew up watching the Grammys, as someone who for years had wanted to join the Recording Academy, now being able to be on that other side is just such a unique experience, and it kind of makes it not as out there, because you're there and you're just like, yeah, these people are just like me, right? We're all just want to make music and share that music with the world. And I think for me, it was kind of like this is where I belong, sitting here 20 feet away from Babyface, one of my favorite all-time songwriters. I grew up on that guy's music. One of his songs was my wedding song, was my first dance with my wife. And now you're there with these people. And it's like, I grew up on a lot of y'all's music, and now I'm here with you. And that was something that was really unique for me. So even though this is a little bit of a different episode, I'm still going to have an action item for you, because I always want to have something for you to take away from each episode. And the action item for this episode is I want you to identify and invest in one new thing to advance your music career. And I'm not talking about, I'm going to book another show or I'm going to write another song. I want you to, choose something like joining a professional organization, joining the Recording Academy or the Country Music Association, which I actually just joined as well within the last about month. Back in 2017, I wrote my first country song. I joined the CMA because I want to be involved in that scene and in that community. Or, invest in some type of online course or coaching. One of my main music coaches is Rick Barker. That's Taylor Swift's former manager. He took her from being a MySpace artist to superstardom. I've known Rick since 2017. Ari Hurstan, Leah McHenry, Tiamo De Vittori, these are people whose programs, coaching, courses I've invested in to grow my music career. So think about maybe something like that too. And keep this in mind, professionals in other industries often do things like this. They join professional or trade organizations in their industry. I don't think it should be any different for us as musicians, because those things exist for us too. And a lot of times there are so many positives to doing it, right? Whether it's showcase opportunities, networking opportunities, which is one of the main reasons I joined, not only the Recording Academy, but also the Country Music Association, is for the networking opportunities. A lot of times they come with benefits and perks. And one of the other big reasons why I think it's important to, especially to join a professional organization, is you want to expand your community. One of the things that I noticed seeing the winners from this year's Grammys, as I sat there and I watched kind of who was winning, and then looking at credits, I noticed that the amount of collaboration that was happening between the winners and people who literally had worked on someone else's project, someone from the Recording Academy, another member, another person in the organization. And it's like, oh, wait, they worked on that person's project who won, And that just goes to show that there can be a lot of benefit to collaborating when you're expanding that community and you start working with people that maybe are outside of your normal sphere. Maybe it's time to get out of your safe music bubble, because you never know how far you can go. And so that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to doing more here as I venture down this music journey road, just like you guys are. So if you have any questions, or if there are any topics that you'd like to have covered on the show, you can email me at questions@indiemusiciansecrets.com. Also, don't forget to rate and review. Hit us up with those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. That would be awesome. And as always, please share this podcast with anyone that you think it would be beneficial for, because I'm passionate about helping independent artists grow their music career. So thank you so much for listening. God bless, and I will see you when I see you. Peace. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow the Indie Musician Secrets podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and make sure to leave us a rating and review. Also, share this episode with other indie musicians you think it would be beneficial for. And for more helpful resources to help you grow your music business, visit us at businessmindedmusicians.com. I hope this episode has served you. We'll talk to you on the next episode.